Hello and welcome to Sincerely Speaking. I am so excited for our conversation today. I have with me Gigi Moldovan. We met through a common friend that we both love and care for a lot. And so that connection was built, and we instantly saw the value of having a conversation to share with you. So, Gigi, I thank you so much for being part of Sincerely Speaking and joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Marcy.
So I would like to start, like I always do with my guests, just talking a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Well, it probably started when I came to Canada 33 years ago. I was a Romanian immigrant. I was 19 years old. I landed here. I didn't know anybody except our sponsor, whom we just met a few months before. And I guess it just started like any other immigrant story. You know, you get to work and you do what you need to do to pay the bills. And I started as a dishwasher for this restaurant, and then I soon got promoted to becoming a pizza delivery driver. And I live in a area there's much agriculture here in Canada, so I was working in orchards and vineyards during the day. I was your typical guy, two full-time jobs, working 7 days a week, anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a week. That was my start.
Wow, that's awesome. And today you are part of a great organization that helps people save money, lead better lives, and just live the American dream, basically, even though you're in Canada. But tell us a little bit about what draws the passion out of you in the work that you do today.
Well, I realize that many times we go towards a path of you don't know what to do until somebody comes into your life and just challenges you or simply asks you to take a look. I guess the saying was come and see. And if you're open and if your heart desires more, many times that come and see might lead you to something that you never really saw coming.
Hmm.
And so for me, that's how it started. I was challenged to seek opportunities beyond my current abilities.
Huh.
And I think that what really happened for me, I realized that to get somewhere, I need to become a different person.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what made the difference. I see a lot of people looking at their current abilities and make decision based on where they are at in order to decide if they're going to go in that direction, as opposed to get excited about the person they need to become
Wow.
and decide to go in that direction. And then in the process, that's what you are becoming. You never really got the goods to get there when you start. So what excites me about your question there, Marcy, is that when you see your journey and you see yourself in younger people or younger generation or others for that matter, you challenge them to say you could arrive at a better place if you have a dream in your heart.
Wow, that's awesome. So one of the things that I'm hearing and that I would love to for you to expand on is this idea of having an identity that is beyond what you see today, right? So for anybody listening that is thinking, okay, so that's wonderful, Gigi, you were able to see beyond yourself, but I don't know how to do that. What do you think would be a first step to start seeing possibility beyond where we live today, beyond where we are today?
Well, I think that's really the difference between sight and insight. A lot of people make their decisions based on what they can see. And sometimes you have to close your eyes to shut the world down, and you see more by closing your eyes than you see with them open. So I would say to that person is there are desires inside of you that you're probably afraid of exploring and afraid of talking about. And that is also something that for me, I realized early on that it's not always safe to
Mm.
talk about your dreams and desire with everybody. You
Mhm.
have to kind of guard that. And so find people that you trust, and there will be that intersectionality, I think, when you will meet the right person at the right time and you will know it. But I would say dig deep and find out what that desire is,
Mhm.
and just dare to look at it and explore it and even pray it into existence.
Oh, that's awesome. So there's a huge element of faith in it all, right? Like seeing beyond what the eyes can see.
Absolutely. I always will maintain that there's about five decisions that kind of dictate the course of your life, and what you believe is probably the most important one, because that dictates how you look at things. And so I always looked around to people that believed bigger, greater, deeper than I have.
Wow.
So that is a big decision right there. And I believe that, we live in a day and age where beliefs are challenged,
Hmm.
and we get to see, what is at the core of a lot of beliefs. Many of them are not strong or substantiated or are anchored in anything that speaks of truth. Is mainly related to people's feelings,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are going towards feeling better versus being better. And
Wow.
I've always asked that question: do you want to feel better, or do you want to be better? Because the outcome and the difference it makes in going in is very, very much, it has a different outcome for sure.
Wow, I think we should embroider that somewhere. Do you want to feel better or be better? That is very profound because you're right. A lot of us are guided by our feelings so much, and feelings are deceitful just to begin with, right? So, would you mind tapping into or mentioning at least the other four decisions? You said there are at least five, and one is what you believe. What are the other four?
All right. So the what you believe is the first one. Who you marry is the second one. I've always said, the person you spend the rest of your life, it can plays a huge role. You can have an easy life, a hard life, no life, depending on how that decision goes. So that's the second one. The third one is what you do for a living. What do you choose to spend your day on? Because that decision takes a big chunk of your day.
Yeah.
It depending on the job, sometimes it's 20 hours a week, sometimes it's 30 or 40 hours a week. So it's important to make a good decision there, because you can draw fulfillment and satisfaction from what it is you do, and you can kind of see how you're made and choose that. So that will be the third one. The fourth one is where you live.
Mm,
Where you live makes a big difference.
yeah.
And sometimes we choose where we live, sometimes we don't have as big of a choice, right? And the fifth one is decide to be a healthy person in
Mm.
every aspect, physically, spiritually, relationally. That's a decision that is up to us to make and maintain. So those to me would be the big five, the big pillars, I would call them.
Oh, that's awesome. So let me see if I remember all of them. What you believe, who you marry, what you do for a living, where you live, and I forgot the last one.
Decide to be a healthy person,
There you go.
spiritually, physically. Yeah, your health,
Your
your
health. Yeah.
your person. Like look after this person, not from a selfish, narcissistic way, but from a perspective of the healthier you are, the more health you bring to other people. So do it for others, not just for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's cliche now, but the analogy of putting your mask on first in an airplane before you help others with their mask comes to mind, and it's very fitting, I think. So, based on your pillar decisions and the experiences that you've had, how would you define success today?
Well, I would say that the combination of those decisions would lead towards a destiny that was preordained for your life. I would say that those decisions are influenceable. So we think that we make them, but essentially what we should be doing is we should be responding to that which was already indicated to us that we should be responding to. In other words, they are there. It's just that we need to make the best decisions. It's not that those decisions are not there. We need to be fully engaged in order to make those decisions well, because out of that will flow our everyday life. So success to me is a succession of actions that would lead towards an end result. But it's not the result that we're after, it's the journey. And so a lot of people are looking when I get there or when I get there, and they ignore the journey. The journey is meant to grow and teach us and lead us in areas that makes things different and better in the process. So I think that successes can be an overused term, and success can be this word that is used where everybody says you define success for yourself. And I think as much as that is somewhat true, I think success is the end result of something that was predetermined or preordained for us to walk in, which I call that word destiny.
That's awesome. I make the distinction between purpose and calling, right? Like people are always looking for what's my purpose? What's my life's purpose? But if you're looking at something that's overarching over your life, then it's a calling. It's something that's beyond you. It's something that is there and it's permanent, and you just need to discover it, not invent it, right? So I think that in that sense, we're looking at things similarly. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. So I would say, purpose is a little bit like you and me choosing a job or a career. And there's nothing wrong with that. So some people choose to be doctors or dentists or nurses or, all kinds. So people choose their career path or what they do for a living. So that has purpose and that has meaning. A calling to me is something that chooses you. It's almost like when you intersect with it, you cannot not do it.
Yeah.
And to some people, it doesn't even make sense, because you say you could be doing better here, or you could be making more money here, or you could be more useful here. But what most people don't understand about that person is they cannot not do what they're called to do. It's a calling. It's something that only if they do it will they feel that this is what my life is about. So to me, that is the difference between purpose and calling. Calling is something that is simply calling you out to do what you were meant to be doing, and you cannot but do it. That's the only way you're going to be fulfilled.
Yeah. And it gives you this sense of, it almost pulls you, right? So you feel this emptiness or this void when you're trying to move away from it, which a lot of us do anyway, but it's nonsensical to try to avoid it. So you do a lot of mentoring, right? And I imagine that there are moments, because I know it happens to me as well, when you are trying to mentor someone, trying to help someone, and it just doesn't seem to click. People just don't seem to get what it is that you're trying to do for them, right? If there was one thing that you would love for all your mentees to come into mentoring with or understanding, right? What would that one thing be that you would want all of them to understand and know right off the bat?
That's a very deep question, because we want to reduce what you said is you want me to reduce it to one point. I probably go at it this way. I share this with people. I don't have a lot of things to teach, but I have a lot of things to share. And I hope that my sharing teaches some things. So in other words, what I share is pretty much how I live my life. And I hope that living my life openly before those people that are in my life gives them clues as to what makes that life what it is. So I never really saw myself as a mentor, more as I saw myself more as a role model. Is something I'm doing, is something in my life worthy of being emulated by others or grasped and lived out. So for me personally, what I think has made me who I am is that from a very early stage, I developed a short list of absolutes and non-negotiables. And I find that most people in life that wander or meander or get lost for long periods of times is a group of people, those people that don't have something that is an absolute in their life and a non-negotiable. So that they give themselves permission to move in and out of things that in my mind should be absolutes and non-negotiables. So I would simply say to that person that I would mentor is like, what are some of your absolutes and what are some of your non-negotiables in life? What will you never do or what will you always do? And then I will start with that. And then I because that tells me about the character of the person.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to look for one thing, is I would say, do not forsake the fact that you're going to go through hardship and adversity to build a perseverance. And then you're going to persevere through that to build character so that you can arrive at a future and a hope that you can not only have for yourself, but now you can have for others. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm just kind of trying to think about how I do it for me before I can teach it to someone else, because everything I do, I kind of try to go get the answers for myself, and then if they're worth sharing, then I might be sharing them with others.
Absolutely. No, you did answer my question perfectly. So, the basis for being able to move forward with whatever the goal is or whatever the journey gets to be is having a set of non-negotiable absolutes, like values, like is what I would call them, right? That guide and direct where we go and why we go there and why we stick to the things that we stick with, right? And that doesn't give us enough wiggle room to let go of things that are important. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Awesome. So when talking about this idea of your values and determining all these things, I think that one of the biggest struggles that the world has in general right now is that everything is so gray. Everything is so open to interpretation, and everybody wants to be okay with everybody else. When you are saying absolutes, some people are thinking, but wait a minute, how do I know that that's right? Or how do I know that I get to stick to that? Is there anything that you would say to someone who comes at you and says, you know what, Gigi, it all sounds well and good for you, but there are no absolutes in this world?
Well, that opens up an entirely different conversation. And when somebody starts with that, then there's not much conversation or communication to be had,
Hmm.
because it already starts with, this is my position of the argument. Now you come and defend that argument or attack it or deal with it. I find that if somebody has their mind made up, there's very little we can do to have a conversation.
Hmm.
And so, he or she who has the answers that has no more answers to be received.
Hmm.
Uh, and so, when people make, you see, that is an absolute statement right there. There is no absolutes in this world. Wow. You see, you just made an absolute statement with that comment. And the truth is, there is this dichotomy between love and hate. You see, I love my wife, but I would hate if she was lying to me, right? If you love somebody, you gotta hate cheating. If you
Mm-hmm.
love somebody, you gotta hate lying. If
Mm-hmm.
you love something, you gotta hate something else that attacks that love.
Yeah.
And that's really where I believe a lot of people are missing the mark. You cannot love everything. You can love everybody, but you cannot love everything. And separating the person from the act is what is really the hardest thing for people to do,
Yeah.
right? I told my son, I love you, but I hate when you do this. I love you no matter what you do, but on character issues, if you break trust, or
Mm-hmm.
if you lie, or if you cheat, or if you do something bad, I hate that part. I don't hate you. Now, if you don't know how much I love you, you may mistaken that with the fact that I hate you. And that's where I think that a lot of people's maturity is exposed in not realizing the difference between the person and the actual act that they're committing.
That's awesome. That was a great answer, by the way. Love that. So, Tell us a little bit more, because people heard that you work for an organization that helps people with their health and with achieving some of their life goals and so on. Tell us a little bit more about what the organization is. Feel free to mention the name. It's Melaleuca. I'll say it for you. And tell us a little bit about what it is that drew you to that organization in particular.
I think the most important thing is I wanted to do something. I wanted to be in an organization, with an organization that had a vision, that was not going to be here today and gone tomorrow. And many times I looked at that foundation for that organization. So when I decided to throw myself in that business model, it was 14 years old at the time, and it had me believe that they are building something here to last generations. And I was just a steward of something that would help me and my family financially. But in the process, I would have a chance to buy into the mission statement, which is to enhance the lives of those we touch by helping people reach their goals. And it sounded good to me at the time, but it wasn't until a year later, after I got started, when I realized that this organization was very serious about helping people reach their goals. But it also occurred to me that in most places, people are kind of invited to join in a way that they probably don't have goals. Somebody wanted to achieve their goals through their efforts. Mm-hmm. And so what really drew me to this, and what still has me excited and committed to this journey, is that if a person has goals, whether they have health goals or financial goals, then we can help. But if they don't, then there's nothing that we can do. So I like that idea. You talk about put your own mask first. I like the idea of reaching down to a person that's reaching up. So to me is like, I look at people that simply say, my goals have the capacity and the ability to lead me to live a different life. And that fuels me, because I see that a person that has goals, a person that wants to go places, does things very differently than a person that does not.
That's awesome. So as we come to the end of our conversation, I have two questions left. The first one is, if you could leave us with one thought, something that you think it's really important for us to think about and know, what would that be? Maybe something you would tell your son or your younger self.
Wow. Well, it seems to me that every day I have some kind of a thought, which I hashtagged on my Twitter or LinkedIn. It's called Things Gigi Thinks. So you can go and look at those hashtags, and there's a lot of thoughts that I have. But to think about one thought that I would say that comes to mind based on this conversation is this one: be careful what you believe, for you shall live accordingly. So I tell you, everybody that lives a certain way is as a result of what they have come to believe, or they have come to not even take as beliefs, but more or less choose to operate in that way. So I look at how people live and how people talk, and then I listen to what they believe, and then it's no mystery to me as to why that person lives that life. So that would be that one thought that I would challenge all of us, myself included. Be careful, watch what you believe, or you will live according to your beliefs. Our beliefs mold us and shape us, and I think they're important.
I love that. Something else that should be embroidered on a pillow or something. And then the final thing is, anybody who wants to be more in contact with you, learn more about the things Gigi thinks, and connect with maybe your organization even, how can they get in touch with you?
I always tell, it's funny because on my Facebook, it says I'm easy to find, much harder to know. In other words, just Google my name or put it in some kind of a search engine and you'll find me. But in order to get to know me, like with anyone, you have to spend time with that person.
Yep.
So it's very simple. It's right on the screen. It's Gigi Moldovan. You look at that, and then people will find me there. I also have a website called gigimoldovan.com where it's a little bit of I wouldn't call it a business card online, but it's more of an introduction as to who I am, a bit of my story. So every time people want to say, what are your contacts? I said, gigimoldovan.com, read about a few things. If you ever want to reach me through there, fine. But I'm found through all the mediums out there, the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find me there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Gigi. I know you are a very busy person, so I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today and for sharing all your wisdom. It has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcy. Have a great day.
You too.